Okay, here I am. Good morning.
Good morning, Thomas.
Hi, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you, Thomas.
Nice to meet you all too. And thank you for
Fritz.
inviting me to this meeting.
It is a pleasure to have you here as a host.
Yes, and thank you so much. I see that my mother is here. She's right there. And Tabea. I'm so happy to have this event. Thank you so much.
We are happy to be hosting you, Sophia.
Thank you, Fritz.
Okay, now I put the audio. I'm the translator. I'm Kirsten. I'm not Tabea.
Oh, you're Kirsten. It's so nice to
Pleasure to meet you.
Sí, un placer.
Thank you
Ahora
so
que pasaron
much.
tanto tiempo con su libro, me encanta estar consigo ahora.
Ay, qué emoción conocerte, Kirsten.
Sí, igualmente.
So nice to meet you. So nice
Yes.
to meet you. And I haven't received the book, and so I haven't been able to look at your words.
Ah, okay.
Even though I don't speak German, but I've listened to it a bit in the audiobook.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it sounds beautiful. Thank you.
It is such a beautiful book. I love to translate it. Really, I had such a good time. I laughed a lot. I cried a lot. So I really enjoyed translating you, being your German voice.
Thank you. That's amazing.
Sophia, if you want, I can bring you someone, because in the next month I need to go to Monterrey, so I can bring you one book if you want.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Deborah lives in Germany, and we've become friends through social media and everything. Thank you for being here, Deborah. And you know what? The books are stuck in customs. So they've been sent. It's just that it's difficult. There's I think more difficulty in getting through customs than getting translated, Kirsten.
maybe they're in the third edition already.
Hello, sorry for interrupting. If you would like to, we can go ahead and start this meeting.
Yes, of course. Sorry.
Yes, thank you everyone and welcome. Thank you for being here. It's a great honor to be hosting this event. Also, as you know, Sofia Segovia is a brilliant author whose books have been translated to different languages. In this case, we are here because it has been translated to German. And well, also it is a great honor to be hosting this event with the Counselor of Cultural Affairs at the German Embassy, Mr. Thomas Lenferding, and of course the Cónsul Eisele. And well, if you would like to go ahead and start, I will give some words here for a few introduction with our beloved Cónsul Eisele.
Thank you, Sara. Good morning. Sophia, good morning. How are you?
I'm so excited, Fritz. Thank you so much for this day.
I wonder if you're excited as much as us. We are very, very honored to have you here. You're a Monterey girl. You're now an international girl, and now you're international in German girl, as well as so many other languages. We are very, very honored to be hosting you here today. Not only as consul, but also as Fritz. And knowing you since our youth, I'm very, very proud of you. So congratulations, Lucia. It is to that extent that I would not share too many more words, except saying that involving Mr. Lendefing from the embassy, German embassy in Mexico City, was what we would call a no-brainer. Your book has transcended borders, and it is truly an honor and congratulations that you're joining us here today. Proof of it is all the people that have actually joined this Zoom. So once again, congratulations, well earned. And I would like to now pass on the microphone to Thomas so he may share a few words also. Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. Mrs. Segovia, Honorary Cónsul Eisele, Mrs. Horst, Mrs. Leal. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and good day to everyone. It is a pleasure and an honor to be included in this virtual event which connects Mexico and Germany by means of literature. Literature can play an important role in international affairs. It raises interest in its readers for yet unknown societies and cultures, and it raises curiosity in people to explore these new worlds. It builds bridges between people by way of imagination and opens us up to new experiences. If you allow me to cite myself as a perfect example of this. During my time as a student in Bochum, Germany, Mexican literature, in particular, of course, Paz and Fuentes, were extremely popular among German college students, and so with me. Already as a young boy, I had read fabulous children's books on the ancient Mesoamerican cultures. Later, the lecture of one special book, loved by many in Germany, was Laura Esquivel's Como Agua para Chocolate. It was this book which enticed my wish to visit Mexico. By that time, Mexico had become a place of my dreams. Now, college students tend to travel a lot, and so I packed my bags and went to Cancun. At that time, still a more sleepy place than today, not so many spring breakers. I returned several times. Then, later in my life, I joined the Foreign Office, and when employment at the German Embassy in Mexico City became available, I instantly applied and was most fortunately selected. So now here I am, living in inspiring Mexico City. And of course, we all could do without the pandemic, but still my life here is great and full of experiences. But this is what literature can do with the life of a person. I am certain Murmurs of the Bee will find many readers and admirers in Germany. And I am certain that it will build bridges between our countries. Mrs. Segovia, congratulations on the success of your novel. And please keep inspiring us with new works in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very honored to be here. Fritz, thank you for making this possible. And thank you, Thomas, for your words that ring so true to me. I do believe that with my whole heart. And yesterday, I found an email when I was where I was telling my original editor here in Mexico. And I was telling her, I believe I can see, I believe the murmur of bees can be, el murmullo de las abejas can be in any language. I believe literature is there for the whole world to break every barrier. We build barriers, but I do believe through stories, Thomas, and you were saying this right now, that literature can build bridges and even shorten the oceans between us and cultural barriers and everything. And there's an expression in Spanish, and it doesn't sound so nice when I say it in English, but it goes to say more or less, when speaking, people understand each other. And I believe that literature goes even further, because when reading, people feel each other. And I believe that is the best destroyer of barriers, of every barrier we can build as humans, right? Literature destroys that. And so thank you. I also want to thank Fritz and you for hosting us with such enthusiasm, and also your people that work with you, Fritz. They've been so kind. And I want to thank Tabea for making this possible too, because what I said in that email about believing that the Murmur of Peace could be anywhere in the world and really sound very strongly too in other languages. You made it possible, Tabea. You opened your doors to this Mexican story and took it to Germany. And I also want to thank Kirsten, because you took my words in Spanish and translated them. And I've heard it's a beautiful translation, because that I don't have the book, but I've heard it's a beautiful translation. So thank you both, and thank you for being here and really also joining in with great enthusiasm, inviting people in Germany. Thank you for my friends and family here in Mexico, and thank you for my new friends in Germany too. I hope you love this book, and I hope it moves you. And I hope through reading it, you can also feel Mexico. I hope, really hope so. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophia, for your kind words. Now we have here a few welcoming words by Tabea, if she would like to speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. So, hi and buenos dias to everyone in Mexico. Herzlich willkommen to all the book lovers, booksellers, journalists, and friends that are joining us from Germany. I'm Tabea Horst. I have the immense pleasure to be the German editor of this wonderful book we are talking about today. And I hope you all can lean back now with either the first cup of coffee in your hand or maybe a glass of wine. In Germany, it's already 5 o'clock. And listen now to the murmur of the bees. And before we start, a huge thanks from me also to Thomas Lenferding, the Consular for Cultural Affairs of the German Embassy in Mexico. And vielen Dank auch an den Honorarkonsul Fritz Eisele. Thanks a lot for having us here, for giving us this virtual space, for making this binational event possible, that crosses borders, that enables discussions, and makes us all listen to literature and maybe even to nature. We'll see. So when I first read your book, Sophia, I immediately fell for it. I fell out of my daily life, out of my routines, into this other world, into a land of milk and honey, maybe, where the bees are buzzing and oranges are blossoming, and there's a fresh breeze blowing from the mountains. And this is a very idyllic scenery we find at the beginning, but it won't last for long, because we're at the beginning of the 20th century and the Civil War will reach the region. And also the Spanish flu is going to follow shortly after. And as we all know by now, wars and epidemics are happening faster than one might think. And one blink and the world is turned upside down. Lives of beloved ones are in danger. So in this book, there were great threats and dark times to come for the family Morales. But you can find light everywhere if you're just looking close enough. And in this novel, it's Simonopio, the little child no one believed could survive, who brings light to the family, to everyone in the region. He's the silent boy who becomes a loud hero of the history. He saves the Morales, his family, and heals their wounds without even speaking. But also, he's not alone, because his friends are even smaller and easier to oversee, easier not to notice, even though I would say they're the most powerful in the books. And I'm, of course, talking about the bees. Simonopio is the only one who's able to listen to them, to really see the magic of nature and to open his eyes for it. So I think we all need a little bit of lightening up and a little bit of magic maybe at the moment to give us time to heal. So I invite you to look closely and to listen carefully to find it. And allow us now to take you to this little Mexican village that is called Linares. And Sophia, when we last talked, you were sitting on this hacienda. I think it looked really beautiful, your writing spot, and I might have been a bit jealous. And I think it wasn't too far away from where the story takes place. So maybe you could tell us a bit. What is your connection to Linares?
Well, it's a very special connection. Thank you, Kristen, for your words. Something is going on. Just a second. Thank you. It's a very special connection, and it's a multi-generational connection. My father was born in Linares. My grandfather lived this moment I'm talking about I write about in The Murmur of Bees. This is not my family's story per se, but it's the moment that my family lived in Linares. It's I wanted to write about the spirit of the people that lived through these moments and their hearts and their spirit. And I hope I achieved it. But I didn't visit Linares before writing this novel, and I couldn't go to this area while writing because it was such a difficult time here in Monterrey and the region because of the drug wars that suddenly befell on us. And so I had to use my imagination to write this novel. But I realized I had a better resource than my actually visiting Linares. I had working for me all my grandfather's anecdotes, all the family's stories about Linares, and those I used as a backdrop for this story, as color, as flavor, as sounds, and I think as voice too. And that's how I felt Linares, through my grandfather's stories. So I wanted to give this story this sense of an old man narrating this story with his backs and forths and jumping much as an oral history is told. So that's my connection to Linares. It's very strong. But I think it was made stronger by my history and my imagination. And I've been to Linares since then. Yeah, things have changed, and I love the area. And since then, I've been to Linares when it was blooming, when the orange trees were blooming. And I was very, very happy to realize that the actual smell of the orange blossoms I had imagined before and wrote in this book.
So you said you wanted to have this old man telling the story, who's a young boy at that time. So is it inspired a bit by your grandfather then? Is it could you say that? And have you ever visited the place your family and your father was actually born?
Well, it's I think my grandfather died when I was 9 years old, and I'm so sorry to have missed all his storytelling, because I do think he was a great storyteller. He chose what to tell. He chose all these little anecdotes that would make the family laugh and remember Linares with such affection. And he didn't tell what was painful, never, because I think we try to forget what is painful, and he didn't want to inherit that part of his history to the next generation, right? And if I could meet him right now, I would really embrace him and tell him I understand why he did it. But yeah, he inspired this Francisco as a narrator, as an old man, his choice to forget. And I think that's something that happens here in Mexico. There are many painful moments in our history, and we don't live attached to them. We prefer to be happy, and that's what I think my grandfather's stories did for us. They gave us a family history in Linares that was happy, and he would not talk about how painful it was to cut ties with Linares and have to move away because it was dangerous for him to be there. So yeah, he inspired the tone and the spirit in this story. And yeah, I've been to Linares. We went to Linares, my whole family. We made a road trip of it and visited the main square and met people there. And it was very funny because I had never been there before, but people would say, look, this is where Nana Reja sat to wait for Dr. Cantu to help. And then somebody would come and say, oh, I think that person you talked about was my grandmother. And I was like so happy because I could also get the people in the town, in the present, to feel part of the story. And well, it's fiction, but I did use certain elements like very well-known last names and very well-known places. And so they could feel they were right there. And my grandfather's haciendas were not there actually, but I did name Francisco Morales' haciendas in honor of my grandfather's old hacienda, La Amistad. So there are these little Easter eggs right there that meant a lot to me. And these little things small things that I just meant for them to honor my family history right there.
Yeah, and it gave inspiration to beautiful characters. I think you really created so heartwarming heroes, and it's really, you cannot resist how those little people, you would say, have their daytime struggles, and they really fight to make life better for them and also for others. There's so many nice actions. I mean, talking about the uprising of Lazaro, or just like small actions like Simonopio, who's bringing the singer to Beatrice so she's not going to become crazy during lockdown. So I think that was what I really loved about the book, those small acts of kindness that were so big and so important, and that every character has his own fights he has to fight. So yeah, I was really amazed by those characters, and I was wondering, like, of those cast, who was the hardest for you to describe, and who was maybe the easiest one to identify with?
Oh, thank you for saying that about the characters. The characters I really came to love, every one of them, even the one I'm not supposed to love because he's evil. And no, I went to feel each one of them. I think the most difficult one was actually Simonopio, because he had to carry the weight of this novel and he does not speak. And so how to achieve that? And I realized that I had to give him all these connections to the other characters that were believable and had carried some weight and importance for him to become the nucleus of this story. He's the center, and but he's very strange because he's a character that does not speak. And so I think that was the most difficult. But then also there is Espiricueta, and it would have been so easy just to say, oh, he's the bad guy, and not go and feel or inhabit his skin. But I realized that I couldn't do that. It wasn't fair. I needed to feel his pain and his history in order to understand him. So I did feel him. That was very difficult too, because of course it was painful. And then Beatriz was also a character that became very important to me, because women are never in the history books. And I wanted to tell this story from a very different point of view than the history books. So there are no heroes, no official heroes here in this story. Just little people, as you say, people who are never going to be in the history books. That was very important to me. No big, amazing deeds or whatever, maybe just the everyday life. And that's the life most of us inhabit. And that's what I think made this connection more possible to me, for me, because I wanted to know just how this historical moment felt for real people. Of course, they're fiction, but they became real. And through them, I realized what history books never say. They never tell the human story. And I just wanted to tell the human story. And so all these people who are never, ever in the history books because they're women or they're children or they're just a common man who loves his land, or they are just called the evildoers in the history books. I just wanted to tell their story and tell a human story that we could all connect to.
Yeah, and I have to say those characters became quite real to me too, and I really attached to all of them. Also to Anselmo, the devil one, who's not only devil. There's always two sides, I think. In my introduction, I presented the bees as the most powerful heroes in the novel. First of all, would you even agree to that, or was it a bit harsh for me to say? And what would you say? Why does the story need them so much?
I do believe they're the heroes in this story,
Yeah.
and they're the heroes of our everyday life too. It's just that I didn't realize that before writing them in the novel. I fell in love with them in the novel, and I needed them at first because they were convenient. I needed somebody to save the little boy, the little baby, and of course they stayed, and they became this integral part of the story. And then I realized, of course, they are going to be my weapon, literary weapon against the harsh historical facts. So in many ways, they are the heroes of this story, because I'm not a historian, I'm a novelist. And I realized that as a novelist, I'm absolutely free to write whatever I wanted. And the bees became this freedom for me. They were my weapon to fight against the real harsh historical Mexican facts. Mexican history facts. What happened in reality was that a president said, "Oh, I want to write this law for myself, in order to save my land," and that's the real Mexican history. And I wanted to take that away, because that little idea he had, this president, changed the destiny of many people, a whole region. And I wanted to say, you know what? No, it was the bees. They had this idea first. They wanted this life for this land. And what happened, actually, I said, of course, and then the change in agriculture here wouldn't have been possible without the bees, of course. And then I started learning more and more about the bees and how magical they are actually in real life. And they became Simonopio's teachers, and they taught him to see life as they see it in this 360 kind of sphere. This is science, but it also seems magical to me. And so they became the precursors of the magic in this novel. And so they taught Simonopio to be this fierce protector of the community, as bees are. And they taught him to see every point of view. And I tried to write this novel in this tenor. And then they also taught him to see beyond the horizon, because bees actually see beyond the horizon. And I said, oh, that's like looking into the future. And so Simonopio acquires all the bees' qualities, and they seem even more magical to me in real life than what I was able to give them in the novel. And through this writing, I also learned that they're in real peril. And so by the end of the novel, this actually also became like this call to action, call to save the bees. So it was an amazing, amazing process, and the bees were an integral part of everything.
Thank you very much, Sofia and Tabea, for your words and for this little interview. Also, if you would like to, everyone is invited to ask some questions to the author. If you would like to put them here on the chat, we will let them know. And now, moving along, we will have a reading of the chapter number 3 by Sofia, and then coming along by the chapter number 4 by Tabea Horst. Enjoy.
Thank you. And I'm going to read in Spanish. And then I would love to listen to Kirsten's beautiful translation. Let me see. I have everything right here. No, just a second. So this is chapter 3, capítulo 3, la mecedora vacía. Beatriz Cortés de Morales recordaría esa mañana de octubre de 1910 toda su vida. Habían tocado a su puerta con insistencia y pensando que venían a avisar que uno de los campos de caña se incendiaba, dejó el calor de su cama para ir a abrir. Era Pola llorando. No encontraban a Nana Reja por ningún lado. ¿No estaría en su cama? No. ¿No se hallaba en su mecedora? Tampoco. ¿Dónde más podía estar la viejita? Muerta, de seguro tirada por ahí entre algunos matorrales. Beatriz conocía a Nana Reja de toda su vida, ya que al ser vecinos por generaciones, los Morales y los Cortés iban y venían de visita entre sus propiedades. Aunque lo conocía de siempre, se había enamorado del que sería su esposo a los 16 años, cuando Francisco Morales regresó de estudiar ingeniería civil en la Universidad de Notre Dame y la sacó a bailar una pieza romántica durante los festejos del Sábado de Gloria. Desde la muerte de su suegro y al heredar Francisco sus propiedades, Beatriz había compartido la responsabilidad de todo, incluida la ahora extraviada anciana. Los Morales movilizaron a los empleados de la hacienda, unos a preguntar por el pueblo, otros a buscar entre los arbustos. ¿Y si se la llevó un oso? Tabea, do you want to take over?
Yes, I'm going to continue from there. So, Beatrice, ich fang von vorne an. Der verlassene Schaukelstuhl. Diesen Oktobermorgen des Jahres 1910 würde Beatrice Cortés de Morales Zeit ihres Lebens nicht vergessen. Als jemand wie wild an ihre Zimmertür hämmerte, sprang sie aus dem warmen Bett und öffnete mit dem Gedanken, dass wohl eines der Zuckerrohrfelder brennen musste. Vor ihr stand Pola und weinte. Nana Reja war spurlos verschwunden. Lag sie denn nicht in ihrem Bett? Nein. Und in ihrem Schaukelstuhl? Da saß sie auch nicht. Wo konnte die alte Frau nur sein? Sicher lag sie tot irgendwo in der Wildnis. Beatrice kannte Nana Reja schon ihr ganzes Leben, denn die Morales und die Cortés waren seit Generationen Nachbarn und besuchten einander regelmäßig. Und obwohl sie auch Francisco Morales seit frühester Kindheit gekannt hatte, hatte sie sich mit 16 in ihn verliebt, als er sie, frisch zurück vom Ingenieurstudium an der Universität von Notre Dame, beim Ostersamstagsball aufgefordert und eine ganze romantische Nacht lang mit ihr getanzt hatte. Seit dem Tod ihres Schwiegervaters teilte Beatrice mit ihrem Mann die Verantwortung für die Ländereien, die er geerbt hatte, mit allem, was dazugehörte. So fühlte sie sich auch für die alte Frau verantwortlich, die jetzt verschwunden war. Alle Angestellten der Hacienda wurden losgeschickt, die einen in den Ort, um herumzufragen, die anderen auf die Suche in die Berge. Und wenn ein Bär sie verschleppt hat, dann hätten wir Spuren gefunden. Aber wo kann sie denn hingegangen sein, wo sie sich doch seit mehr als 30 Jahren nicht von der Stelle gerührt hat? Das war die große Frage. Sie mussten sie finden, tot oder lebendig. Während Francisco einen berittenen Suchtrupp zusammenstellte, nahm Beatrice in dem leeren Schaukelstuhl der alten Frau Platz, der unter ihrem Gewicht knatzte. Anfangs dachte sie, dies sei ein guter Ort, um auf Nachrichten zu warten, aber bald bat sie die Wäscherin Lupita, ihr einen anderen Stuhl zu bringen, denn so sehr sie sich auch bemühte, sie konnte das Schaukeln des Stuhls nicht unter Kontrolle bringen. So saß sie endlose Stunden auf ihrem eigenen Stuhl, während Nana Rejas Schaukelstuhl neben ihr hin und her schwang, vielleicht nur aus alter Gewohnheit, vielleicht bewegt vom Wind aus den Bergen. Marti, die Köchin, brachte ihr das Frühstück, aber Beatrice hatte keinen Appetit. Sie konnte nichts weiter tun, als in die Ferne zu starren, in der Hoffnung, dort irgendeine Bewegung auszumachen, die die Eintönigkeit der Felder oder die raue und vollkommene Schönheit des Gebirges durchbrechen würde. Einen hübschen Blick auf die Berge und auf die Zuckerrohrfelder hatte man von hier. Beatrice hatte die Umgebung noch nie aus dieser Perspektive betrachtet und verstand nun, was Nana Reja an diesem Ort fasziniert hatte. Aber warum schien sie hinter ihren geschlossenen Lidern immer auf diese endlosen, gleichgültigen Berge zu starren? Warum waren ihre blicklosen Augen unentwegt auf den Pfad gerichtet, der sich zu ihnen hinaufwand? Wonach hielt sie nur Ausschau? Während sie auf Neuigkeiten wartete, kam Beatrice zu dem Schluss, dass kaum Hoffnung bestand, die Nana lebend zu finden. Und da sie eine praktisch veranlagte Frau war, ging sie bald dazu über, die Trauerfeier zu planen. Sie würden sie in ein weißes Leinentuch hüllen und in einem Sarg aus feinem Holz begraben, nachdem sie schon geschickt hatte. Pater Pedro würde die Messe halten und ganz Linares würde zur Beerdigung der ältesten Frau der Gegend eingeladen werden. Aber ohne Leiche gab es natürlich keine Totenwache. Und konnte man überhaupt eine Totenmesse ohne Toten lesen lassen? Was den Schaukelstuhl betraf, war Beatrice noch unschlüssig, was mit ihm geschehen sollte. Man könnte ihn verbrennen und die Asche im Garten verstreuen oder ihn zu Kleinholz verarbeiten und der Toten so mit in den Sarg geben. Oder man ließ ihn einfach an seinem Platz, zur Erinnerung an den Körper, der so viele Jahre in ihm gesessen hatte. Es wäre ein Sakrileg gewesen, der so mit Nana Reja verwachsen war, irgendjemand anderem zur Nutzung zu überlassen. So viel stand fest. Nachdenklich betrachtete sie den alten Schaukelstuhl. Sie hatte ihn noch nie leer gesehen. Noch nie hatte sie ihn reparieren lassen oder etwas zu seiner Instandhaltung unternommen, und doch war er völlig intakt. Beim Schaukeln knarzte er leise, aber ansonsten schien ihm Zeit und Witterung ebenso wenig anhaben zu können wie seiner Besitzerin. Sie waren eins, und Beatrice dachte, solange der eine lebt, lebt auch die andere. Plötzlich bemerkte sie alarmiert, wie jemand auf dem Pfad durch die Zuckerrohrfelder auf sie zugelaufen kam. »Was gibt es, Martin? Habt ihr sie schon gefunden?« »Ja, Signora. Signor Francisco schickt nach dem Karren.« Beatrice sah ihm nach, als er eilig weiterlief, um das Gefährt zu holen. Sie haben die Leiche gefunden, dachte sie, und obwohl sie pragmatisch veranlagt war, erfüllte sie tiefe Trauer. Nana Reja war steinalt, ihr baldiger Tod war zu erwarten gewesen, aber sie hatte ihr einen anderen Abgang gewünscht, dass sie in ihrem Bett oder in ihrem Schaukelstuhl friedlich einschlief. Und nicht so, mitten in der Wildnis, vielleicht zerrissen von einem wilden Tier, verängstigt und einsam, dass ein so langes Leben so enden musste. Beatrice schüttelte die Trauer ab. Es gab viel zu tun, bevor sie den Leichnam brachten. Als aber die Männer mit dem beladenen Karren eintrafen, musste sie erkennen, dass alle ihre Vorbereitungen und Planungen umsonst gewesen waren. Entgegen aller Voraussicht war die alte Nana noch sehr lebendig. Sophia, what do you think if you read maybe the beginning of the first chapter and I continue from there?
The first chapter?
From the fourth chapter?
Sure. Let me get it. Okay. Here goes. Capítulo 1. Niño azul, niño blanco. En esa madrugada de octubre, el llanto de bebé se mezclaba con el ruido del viento fresco circulando entre los árboles, el canto de los pájaros y la despedida de los insectos de la noche. Salía flotando de la espesura del monte, pero se apagaba a unos cuantos metros de su origen, como impedido por una brujería a salir en busca de cualquier oído humano. Se comentaría por años cómo don Teodosio, rumbo a su trabajo en una hacienda vecina, seguramente debió pasar al lado del pobre bebé abandonado sin haber oído ni pío, y cómo Lupita, la lavandera de los Morales, cruzó el puente que la llevaría a la petaca en busca de una poción de amor sin haber notado algo extraño. Y si yo lo hubiera oído, lo habría levantado siquiera, porque por más horrible, no sé quién pudo haber abandonado un bebé recién nacido así nomás, a morir solito, diría por la tarde a quien la quisiera escuchar. Ese era el misterio. ¿Quién de los alrededores había mostrado un embarazo indiscreto recientemente? ¿A quién pertenecía ese bebé desafortunado? En el pueblo, las noticias de indiscreciones de ese tipo se esparcían más rápido que el sarampión, así que de saberlo uno, lo sabrían todos. Sin embargo, en este caso, nadie sabía nada. Había teorías de todo tipo, pero la que más seducía la imaginación colectiva era la de que el bebé pertenecía a alguna de las brujas de la petaca, que como todos sabían, eran libres con sus favores de la carne y que, al resultarle un crío tan deforme y extraño, castigo del Altísimo, del diablo, quién sabe, lo había ido a tirar bajo el puente para abandonarlo a la buena de Dios. Want to continue, Tabea?
Yes, maybe just very short, because I think there are already a lot of questions here.
Okay.
So that was the moment Nana Regia found a baby, and no one had expected this. Niemand hätte sagen können, wie lange das Baby mutterseelenallein dort gelegen hatte, hungrig und nackt. Niemand verstand, wie es unter freiem Himmel hatte überleben können, ohne durch die offene Nabelschnur zu verbluten oder zum Fraß von Ratten, Raubvögeln, Bären oder Pumas zu werden, von denen es in der Gegend nur so wimmelte. Und alle fragten sich, wieso ausgerechnet die alte Nana Regia den Jungen unter einem Teppich aus wimmelnden Bienen gefunden hatte. Vor vielen Jahren hatte die alte Amme beschlossen, sich auf der Hacienda La Amistad einen Ort zu suchen, an dem sie den Rest ihrer scheinbar endlosen Tage verbringen konnte. Ihre Wahl war auf einen Schuppen gefallen, einen schlichten, fensterlosen Bau, der als Lagerraum diente. Wie die anderen Wirtschaftsgebäude stand er hinter dem Haupthaus, den Blicken der vornehmen Gäste verborgen, und unterschied sich von den anderen Lagerschuppen nur dadurch, dass er ein schützendes Vordach besaß, sodass die alte Frau sommers wie winters draußen sitzen konnte. Das war allerdings reiner Zufall, denn Regia hatte den Platz nicht etwa deshalb gewählt, sondern weil er eine wunderbare Aussicht bot und der Wind ihr hier nach seinem verschlungenen Weg durchs Gebirge ins Gesicht wehte. Nun saß sie schon seit so vielen Jahren hier, dass keiner der Bewohner sich daran erinnern konnte, wie sie und ihr Schaukelstuhl hierher gekommen waren. Die meisten Leute glaubten, dass Regia ihren Schaukelstuhl nie verließ, weil sie so alt war, auch wenn niemand ihr genaues Alter kannte, dass ihre Knochen sie nicht mehr trugen und ihre Muskeln ihr nicht mehr gehorchten. Schon vor Sonnenaufgang sah man sie dort sitzen, gemächlich hin und her schaukelnd, angetrieben mehr vom Wind als von ihren eigenen Füßen, und am Abend war sie noch dort, wenn alle anderen längst zu Hause ihren Feierabend genossen. So viele Jahre saß sie schon da, dass die Bewohner der Hacienda ihre Geschichte und sogar sie selbst vergessen hatten. Sie war Teil der Landschaft geworden, mit dem Boden verwurzelt, auf dem sie vor und zurück wippte. Ihr Fleisch war zu Holz verdorrt, ihre Haut zu dunkler, harter, gefurchter Rinde getrocknet. Und ich denke, das ist eine ganz gute Stelle zu enden. Maybe that's a good place to stop, because this shows a bit why Beatrice and everyone was so excited that Nana Regia was nowhere to be found.
That
So
was
thank
beautiful.
you a lot.
I want to thank Kirsten for her translation. It's beautiful.
It was such a pleasure and such a privilege to translate you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much for this reading. Now moving on, we have here some questions, Sophia, for you that I see the audience has made. So the first one, I will translate it because it's in Spanish, but it says something like this, like, Sophia, the story of the coyote and the lion is like something that you heard, or like something like, how did you put that story in your novel? Can you see it? It's from L and G.
Yes, yes, I do see it. And it's a very, very sad story I'm about to tell you. It's a story about a young woman here in Monterrey who didn't believe that somebody here in Monterrey could be a novelist. I never believed it. I wasn't even a question, actually. But I love to write, and in college, I wrote this story about the lion and the coyote. At the end of the school year, I threw it away with all my school stuff, but never forgot that fable. That was not a very childish fable. It was actually very profound. I think that's why I never forgot it. And it actually, and it goes back to what Mr. Lemferding was saying about how literature builds bridges. And I wanted to build a bridge between Simonopio and his godfather, Francisco. And I found that they needed to tell each other stories, that Francisco needed to tell Simonopio stories, and that would actually make their bond unbreakable. And I gave Francisco the story about the lion and the coyote. It's just that in the novel, it's not written down. The story is not written down because I had lost it. I just remembered it. And I didn't want to rewrite it again and mess with what I had done as a young woman, maybe 15 years before. And what happened was that it got published. And when it got published, a friend from college told me, I have that story. I have a copy. And so I recovered that. And in a new edition here in Mexico, it got into the book as an extra material. So it's a sad story with a very happy ending.
Thank you very much for answering this question. Also, they ask if Lupita's death, it's like pretty violent, like if you would like to, or if you had the intention to put that into words, like with such cruelty.
Okay, this is a very, very good question. It has a very good answer, and it stems from reality. And of course, I'm writing fiction. This is fiction. But sometimes fiction speaks louder than the newspapers, I think. Or it does for me. And I wanted, through Lupita, take away what the official history of the revolution says about women. There are this very romantic figure that got stolen away, and we're very happy to get stolen. And so there's only one name for them. There's not a list of the women of the revolution. They got stolen away, and they must have been happy. And I think that's a very romantic way to put a very violent action against women. And so Lupita is not called Adelita, how the women in the revolution are called, the Adelitas, all of them. Nobody has a first name and ever. And so this woman does have a name. And we fall in love with her. She's human. And I wanted to take away the romanticism from the violence done against women. And this is a tendency here in Mexico. And while I was writing this novel in 2010, it was actually starting to be a thing we spoke about, the violence against women. And it's so common here. the violence against women, that every day 10 to 11 women die here in Mexico because they're women, because they said no, because they want to get away. And so I wrote Lupita and her death, because I think through fiction we empathize, we feel the more than we do in our everyday life through all these statistics in the papers or whatever. And I do want to have it be an exercise that no death should ever be indifferent to us. No death should just pass us by and just leave us cold, right? And so Lupita and her death.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a great answer. And here also Salim Najera asked if it has a meaning like Nana Reja and like the chair. I don't know how to say it in English, Mecedora.
Rocking chair.
Yeah, like if it has like a meaning Nana Reja in that chair.
Yes, she started out by being an homage to old age. That I think sometimes the modern world just just is prepared to pass them by, because extreme old age, I think, comes with silence, or silence comes into extreme old age. And I imagine Nana Reja being a true empath, knowing everything just because she had lived through everything. And that's how she started out. But and the rocking chair, of course, it's old age, right? And but actually also the rocking chair becomes the rhythms of Nana Reja, who is beyond human years, right? And she became for me actually this life-giving force. She became Mother Nature, and the rocking chair, the symbolism for there's no stopping life. You might go back, but then it's going to come forth, back and forth, right? Like a rocking chair. And so she's the beginning of this triangle of creation. This mythology I started imagining was happening with Nana Reja, the bees, and Simonopio. I started to imagine that I was writing the mythology of creation in the Northeast. And so the magic comes from the bees and Nana Reja with her life force she gave to the town, and then Simonopio as the instrument of life.
Thank you. Sofia, Monica Castellanos has 2 questions. She says, did you imagine the success of The Murmur of Bees in those days when you have a beautiful story looking to be published? And what means to be the woman, the writer, that the Simonopio's story is now translated in many languages?
Well, you know, Monica, I think everything has to start with a dream. And I was saying at the beginning of this meeting that I found a very old email with me writing my original editor here in Mexico and telling her, I believe the murmur of bees, el murmullo de las abejas, das Flüstern der Bienen, can be everywhere. I believe so. And you know what? It began with a dream, but it happened through also going after the dream, working for it, and never stopping to insist that this could be done. And yeah, and what does it mean to be there? It's not the success I was imagining. It was the storytelling, and that's what we love, right? The writers. You are a writer too, a novelist. And what you have to imagine as you write is that you are human and you have a message to send to somebody else, another human, right? You're the emissary and you have to have a receiver for this message. And that's what I never lost sight of. This novel is my message, and I needed it to be received. And now that it is being received in different languages, it just makes this choice I've made in life to be a writer so full of joy. And that's it. I am joyful that it's being read and people are receiving my message, because I think that's what makes us human, sending out a message and being understood. And so there.
Thank you, Sophia. One last question. Unfortunately, the time it's here with us, but it will be this one from Maria Heredia. She asked, how do you feel like when the Morales, like the story of the family Morales became reality because all of this pandemic, COVID, the lockdown, like, did you feel identified, understood, more connected? And yeah, that's her question.
Okay, it was a very bizarre sensation to have lived through this pandemic we're living now. Before I lived it, because as I write, I live what I write. And when I learned that this was happening in China back in January, I really said, oh, here we go. But you know what? I never thought that we would go through exactly the same thing. Just because I believed that we had some advantages now in the world that people didn't have in 1918. We communicate in an instant throughout the world, and we have the World Health Organization. And so, you know what happened to me was more or less what happened to Dr. Cantu, that he was feeling a bit arrogant before this, because he felt that he lived in modern times. And now I felt, oh, I'm in modern times, and so we're so organized. In 2009, the flu epidemic did not become a pandemic because the world reacted as they should, and so crisis averted, right? But no, what I learned this time is that nothing ever cures us from our humanity and maybe our arrogance or egos, because the world this time around did not want to learn from history or science. And that's what's so exasperating, because I wrote that too in 1918 in this book. But what I also, and that's, I'm so glad I found that, because I was writing the human experience. And I found that humans don't not only have to save their bodies, they have to save the human connections. They have to save their souls. They have to save their mental health in a pandemic. And that's what I wrote. And I love that. And people now tell me, are you did you have a premonition? Do you have the gift of sight or whatever? No, and it's not that. I went back and studied history, and history gives us the gift of sight, the gift to see the future. And that's it. It's history. And I did study it and researched it a lot. And that's what seems now that I was like precognizant. But no, I was writing history and I was writing the human experience in fiction. And it seems like fiction passed the barriers of it has and came into reality. And it's just that it was very exasperating to know what was going to happen, to see, anticipate everything, just because I didn't waste my historical knowledge about the issue.
Thank you very much, Sophia. It has been lovely to hear you answering these questions. Now, Cónsul Eisele, if he would like to give some words in order to end this meeting.
Thank you. I think the internet connection has become a little bit unstable, but I'm hoping you can hear me well. Thank you also very much for joining us. I am actually currently attending business on the Pacific coast of Mexico and would very much like to thank our team in Monterey for carrying out this event. Congratulations and thank you so much for your Einsatz. Thomas, my heartfelt appreciation for you joining us today. It was one of the best ways I could think of for us to start collaborating together. Thank you so much for being with us. Tabea, thank you for teaming up with Sophia and for being a catalyst for her achievement. Sophia, you have a blessed talent that yearns to be read worldwide. This blessing found within your words breaks down, as we've said, barriers and unites us all through literature. Your novels bring a breath of fresh air in these complicated times and certainly helps Mexico reach out to the world in general and Germany in particular. It is not easy to excel, you know, but you have not only excelled, but have proven novel after novel that you are the real thing. You will continue to have our full support in this, and not only your passion, but your vocation speak very loudly. As of April 1st, this office will be using your book as a gift to our most special of guests, and I say that with honor. Words indeed do foster bilateral relationships. Mexico and Germany are actually a little bit closer today, thanks to you. Sophia, thank you and congratulations. Something tells me that these now called murmurs are bound to be heard much louder and much clearer worldwide, and that there is still much, much more to come. Thank you all for joining us. It was a pleasure to host this event.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Fritz.
Thank you. We hope you have a wonderful day.